Hi, guys. If you're joining us now, this is Raza Siddiqui and Sara Sadat. You should be watching us on a couple different platforms on the Media Essential Workers, Life, Love, and the Grind, and also on the... So hopefully you will be seeing this stream. We're going to be joined by Jeff Jacobson. We had a very intriguing conversation on Saturday where Jeff kind of updated us on some of the changes to the Illinois law and also some updates as to what's going on with employment. So Sarah's making the technical changes here so that everyone can hopefully see us, hear us on all the platforms. And I am going to be conferencing in Jeff right now. Jeff, thanks for joining us. And again, sharing in what's going to be a daily briefing kind of at 1 o'clock regarding changes and answering questions in this town hall format for people who want to know what's going on. I'm going to punch you up right now. Jeff, thanks for joining us.
Well, and thanks for doing this, you two. So yeah, it's an unfortunate time, but I thought it was best that we do this at least every day till we can get it resolved, because now we've got all sorts of new problems with unemployment.
What are some of the problems you're hearing? Is it more of the technology and trying to get in and filling out the paperwork, or is it just the numbers which we're hearing are going up?
Right, so the numbers are going up, but the biggest problem now is everyone's in the second phase. So most people have applied for unemployment benefits. Some are still having trouble getting through. But now when they certify, when they go online and certify, some of them are saying, answering the questions wrong. They're saying they're not able and available to look for work because of the coronavirus. That's the reason they're not working. And so once they answer the questions wrong, their benefits stop, and now they need to call in to resolve it, and they can't get through.
So, and I'm talking mostly to the viewers right now directly. If you're watching this, you're probably watching this wanting to get some answers to your specific concerns. You can feel free to write those in the comment section. You can also, there's a link to be able to ask Jeff directly any questions you might have. Jeff, let's go over some of the common questions that we had the last time that we went over this, and anything else that you might feel would be beneficial to share.
Okay. So do you want to ask me, or do you want me to go over the process?
Go over the process, if you would. Go over some of, let's go with the process. And then it looks like we have a question coming in from Bridget. We'll get to you in a second here, Bridget, as well.
Right, so why don't we start with the process so everyone can get caught up. So for whatever reason, if your employer has laid you off, or you have to stay home because your kids have no school, or you're fearful of the COVID-19 virus, or, God forbid, someone in your family has it, and you can't work, you're entitled to unemployment benefits. Whether you've been working part-time, full-time, whether you have 1099, whether you have other jobs, you're entitled to apply for unemployment benefits. And so then you go online and you apply. Some people are having the problems. Once you get the claimant number, you are now accepted under the system. If you don't get a claimant number, you've done something wrong and you need to try again. You won't be able to get into the workforce to apply for jobs, nor do you need to for most situations. And so once you have a claimant number, you'll get either a debit card in the mail or direct deposit, and you'll get confirmation that you're entitled to unemployment benefits. However, at some point, the local office may determine that you're not entitled to benefits, and we've talked about a slew of issues related to that, and we'll go over those later. Once you get benefits, every 2 weeks you need to certify. You need to go online. Regardless of whether you're making money or not, you need to go online. If you miss the time to get to certify, then your unemployment benefits stop. You can't refile. You can't file for unemployment benefits more than once in a year. So you need to get it corrected by calling in, which is a problem. So I'm recommending to people, if you're having problems, send in a letter to IDS at 33 South State 8th floor, Chicago, Illinois, 60603. Right now, most people are in the certification problem period.
Speaking of certification problem period, here's another problem. Nicole just came in with this question. I'm locked out of the IDES system and can't get through. What do I do? Nicole, it looks like you are here. I'm going to give me a thumbs up if you're ready. I'm going to punch you on so that you can ask your question directly. All right. Nicole, you have a question you'd like to ask. Go ahead, please.
Got on hold and tried to get through to somebody. Apparently, my card was shipped to an old address, and in order to get a new one, I need to get into the IDES system, which when I can't get in with I don't remember what my old password or username was in 2016. And for some reason, when I put in my social, my mother's maiden name, and my city and state I was born in, it does not allow me to get through.
Right. So now you're in a problem where the only choice is
Nicole, I'm going to ask you to turn your volume down.
Is that me, Roz? Or yeah?
No, that was her. Her mic's muted, so you're good to go, please.
Yeah. Okay. So what you need to do, unfortunately, is call in. I've been told some people are suggesting 8:30 in the morning. If you can't and you've tried for several days, once again, my recommendation is to mail something in to IDS saying your password. You've been locked out. You need a password. Please call me. Give them the phone number. At least you're protecting your rights because your debit card, when you certify, is going to have money put on it.
And I'm going to unmute you here, Nicole, so we can hear you. What was your question?
I called, and when I get a hold of somebody, it says that there's money on the card. It's just ridiculous, but thank you.
Yeah, so they are putting money on nonstop. And they recommend the direct deposit over the debit card, so if you can switch, that would be probably best. Do not stop certifying, though. Make sure you certify every 2 weeks. If you stop certifying, your unemployment terminates then, okay? Yeah, that's for everyone. Do not stop certifying. Thanks, Nicole.
Thank you, Nicole. I'll ask you to log off so we can get some more people. It looks like a lot of people are trying to come in. Jeff, we've got another caller. We've got another couple callers. Before we get to them, I'm actually going to take a second and I'm going to ask you to do the same, which is to explain to people what the information that we are hoping people will get out of this, and also how can this help? And I'll tell you from my perspective, and then I want to ask yours. So Sarah and I both, as members of the community, myself as VP of NABET, VP of a union, see the importance of getting this information out to members who are affected and just to our friends and people in the community who really need to know. I mean, this is just an unprecedented circumstance where many people have found themselves in a situation where not only do they need to apply for unemployment, but they're now facing challenges of websites crashing, just a huge amount of people coming in at once. And really, I feel like guidance is more important than ever right now, because this is when people need the help. This is when people are taken out of a comfortable situation, their regular routine, and need to know, how do I provide for my family? And that's can I ask you why you poked me?
No, there's some changes as they're happening as we're kind of going through this. Raza's bringing up all of this. There are some coronavirus health apps that Mayor Lori Lightfoot is going to be announcing soon that talks about vaccine information and testing. But you know what? At the end of the day, unemployment is still the hot button topic. And that is why I feel super strongly. And that's why I poked my husband Raza over here to kind
it's
of
one of the things you have to get used
here.
to in the quarantine is working the dynamic, especially when we're trying to do joint projects like this to get the information out. I know mostly for me, the importance of doing this is making sure people have the information they need to be able to provide for their families, to be able to have that security and knowing that we are looking out for each other. Not only are Jeff, myself, and Sarah doing this, but if you look on the comments, people are answering each other's questions. It's a very organic movement that we've been noticing. We've done this. I've lost track how many times now, Jeff, but we've noticed people answering questions for each other, which I think is great. Jeff, tell me, what is it exactly that you hope people will get out of this, and how do you think this platform is going to help?
Well, I hope people won't suffer. That's the number one. That's probably one of the reasons I practice law, is to help people out, so that they don't suffer. And unemployment is it's a bare minimum to get through the crisis. You don't get your full wages. You get 47% of what you were making. It's designed to pay for the necessities, a roof over your house and basic food, to get through it. So for me, it's helping people, but it isn't just unemployment. So we've talked about the payroll protection program, which is going on now. And if you're a 1099, you're entitled to the payroll protection program to pay yourself up to 2.5 times the last 12 months of what you were receiving. So 1099 people should go to their banks and apply. If you pay yourself at least 75% of that money, then it's a gift and it's not a loan. If you don't pay yourself 75%, which I don't know why you wouldn't, but if you don't pay yourself 75% of it, then it's a 2% interest loan to the government.
Sarah, would you like to answer what you hope people get out of this?
No, I think while I was poking you earlier, it was majority of what I wanted to get out there. I just wanted to make sure that everybody that was listening knew that this was still the hot button topic that is at the forefront. Us taking care of ourselves, us taking care of our families, and us staying safe builds a community, builds a network, builds a village, builds a United States, right? So we need to make sure that we are taking care of one another. We are trying to find creative ways of answering each other's questions and
Absolutely.
concerns that we have. And the best thing that I know how, being in an IT industry, is I can put together town hall streams, kind of bring communities together and get voices out for especially individuals, frustrated individuals that are kind of going through the same process like some of us have gone in the past, and bringing experts like Jeff Jacobson on just so he can kind of help calm us down with a soothing, calming voice. I know he has been my therapist in the past and he'll continue to be all of yours, kind of going forward and guiding you guys.
Jeff, if you wouldn't mind, give people a little information about who you are and your qualifications. And then after that, we're getting to, and I hope I'm not mispronouncing this, Elaine. We're going to get to your question. Then we have some more questions coming in. Jeff, tell us a little about your background.
Sure. So I'm an attorney for almost 30 years. I practice all areas. One of them is unemployment, and I was administrative law judge for the Department of Employment Security, unemployment in their appeals division, and I decided on about 10,000 cases. So it's an area that I was familiar with. Probably very few attorneys that are familiar with this. So it's an easy area for me to give advice. So let's give some advice out to someone.
Let's give some advice to Elaine. Well, your video's not coming up. Hope everything's good. You're going to be on. I'm going to click you on right here, right now. Can you hear us, Elaine?
Yes.
Okay. You're on with Jeff Jacobson, Raza Siddiqui, Sara Sadat. Let's answer your question. What questions do you have?
My question would be, if a person is possibly experiencing reduced hours 1 week, but then the following week they are working their normal hours. Say, for example, the example might be you work your full hours, you're furloughed the next week, and maybe that's a pattern for a while. Is your claim subjected to being reopened every time you certify?
Okay, so that's a good question. A lot of people have some form of this. So once your hours are reduced, and I'm going to give you what normally and what's happening now. So normally there's a 1 week waiting period. So if your hours get reduced, or you're not working, you're furloughed completely, normally you would have a 1 week waiting period. So if you went back to work the next week, you wouldn't receive any benefits. But in your case, because you're bouncing back and forth, now over the COVID-19 and the governor's order to help people out, once your hours are reduced, you're allowed to apply right away. So if on Monday your hours are going to be reduced for that week, apply. When you go back to work for the next week, full-time, whatever it is, you just have to report those wages when you certify. So those wages will impact your availability for money. So, and it's a 2-week period. So if 1 week you make wages and the next week you don't, you're not back to full-time work, and you just report those 1 week. For that 1 week, if you're making full-time wages, you won't receive any unemployment benefits. If you make, for example, and there's a formula for it, you make half. So some people will go back part-time. If they make half their wages, they get to keep the full unemployment benefits and the half wages under the state law. So does that answer your question?
Yes, thank you.
Oh, and let me just point out, so you talked about claim again. So you can technically only file for one claim in a 1-year period. But once you're unemployed, you don't file a claim every other week or when things change. You just report your wages unless you go back to full-time work. And then once you're full-time, then you have to report that as full-time and your claim stops. So.
Perfect. And then when you're certifying and they ask you, say, for example, a furloughed week, they're asking, were you able and available to work that week? Or they phrase it in a negative way. They say, were you unavailable for work that week? Or how many days were you unavailable? And I suppose you would say 0 for furloughed because you're able and available to work.
So yeah, and that's the issues we're having now. So with people that are trying to certify. So some people are staying home because of the fear of the coronavirus or because of their kids, and they can't go to work. And so when I ask, are you able and available to work? Some people are saying no, which before the governor's order would have been technically right. Now they've changed the definition of able and available, and the definition means if you could work from home. So you're unable to leave the house. I mean, most people under the governor's order can't leave the house, but could you work from home? So the answer would be yes. I mean, if you are ill and in a hospital, obviously you're not able and available to work, although I don't know what the technical definition now would be. But for the most part, if you're stuck in the house, and this goes to a lot of the people that are listening, and it asks you if you're able and available, you are able and available to work even though you can't leave the house. So that question should be a positive yes. Too many people are putting down that they're not able and available to work, and then they're finding their unemployment benefits stop. So hopefully that explains it. I know it was a little lengthy, but I want to make sure everyone understands.
Perfect. Thank you.
Thank you very much for calling in. We get a couple other questions streaming in. Sarah, could you ask some of the ones that are coming in terms of comments to some of the Facebook pages that this is streaming on?
Yeah, in no particular order. And if I forget anybody's question, just feel free to go ahead and continue to comment on our live feed. We should be able to get to you. One of our commenters was saying he was told to return to work on Monday, May 4th from his job when he filed for unemployment a few weeks ago. He got a call from his employer today and was told that it will be another week. So, he was called originally, then he was called again saying that, okay, we're going to delay it for another week. What does he do, like in a situation like this? Does this change anything on his unemployment claim?
So this is, I guess from my perspective, somewhat simple. So once he was laid off, he applies for unemployment benefits, and it's retroactive to the date he was laid off. When he goes back to work, he'll be certifying, and it's at that point that he'll report that he's back to full-time work. He doesn't report he's back to full-time work when the employer tells him he's going to go back in the future, because there's no guarantee he will be. So it's once he's actually working, he or she is actually working full time, is when they reported on their certification, which their certification will be after they're back to work. So that's how it should be done, not when an employer says that you're going to go back to work at some time in the future.
Great question. Oh my gosh, I didn't even think about that.
No, that was a good question.
I have another one. We made a mistake with one of our questions when they were recertifying the second time, and they've been calling since 7:30 a.m. this morning, and it doesn't seem to be that anybody is answering. And I know we've had these questions in the past with the phones and the toll that it's taking on our customer service reps. So any guidance from you, Jeff, on this?
So unfortunately, two things. When you certify, you do it wrong. So part of it is, an affidavit, you're certifying it. You need to correct it by either calling in, and that's why I wanted to do this, because a lot of people don't know how to answer the questions, and they think they're answering it right, but they don't know what the technical terms are, like available and able to work. So they need to call in if they, it stops their unemployment benefits or reduces it. They should also write a letter to the Illinois Department of Employment Security. I don't know if they're going to be able to handle the letters. And then within 30 days, they need to file an appeal. That's the only way they can preserve their rights, is file an appeal. You can get the forms online. You can get the forms from my website at jeffjacobsonlaw.com. That's jeffjacobsonlaw.com, jeffjacobsonlaw.com. And they need to do that within 30 days of getting a denial or reduction in their benefits. I would do it within 30 days of certifying. But yeah, calling in's the only way you can get that started, unless you appeal.
And if you're watching this and it looks like we're distracted, we're not. We're getting questions coming in from text, phone calls. So I'm just looking at it right now. Yeah. A couple of them, Sarah. I think you had one. I would like to
add Diana. Diana was waiting patiently as we kind of got through some of the questions. Diana, if you're ready, I just popped you on, and I'm going to unmute your mic. If you can unmute your mic and join us, that would be great.
Here, can't unmute because it chose to mute themselves. In the meantime, until Diana pops back up, let's get to some of these other questions that we have. I'm going to, for right now, take her off. I'm a freelancer. I was working 6 to 7 days before the pandemic, still luckily working, albeit 2 days. How can I apply or collect underemployment? It's a great question. We've heard a lot of that, Jeff, in the last few weeks, haven't we?
Right, and you may even know the answer to this at this point. So, freelancer, the questions are technically, are you a 1099 or a W-2? If you're a W-2 and your wages have been reduced, you're entitled to file for unemployment benefits. It's the same process for everyone. If you're a 1099, you have to wait till May 11th when the system is supposedly up and running. I'm not overly confident about that, considering they're building it from scratch. The last system took 2-3 years to build, to modify. So building it from scratch may be a little hard, but you're going to have to wait till May 11th. Also, make sure to file for a payroll protection plan loan with your bank, because you may be entitled to 2.5 times your income for the last 12 months.
All right, that sounds great. We got I'm sorry, you got one?
I do. I'm doing a watch party in one of the largest Facebook sites out there, and this is kind of coming from there. So Anne, during this, has asked if someone was on short-term disability but was supposed to return to work the same week. And more questions keep coming. Okay, so again, sorry. If
yeah, 1 hour might not be enough, Jeff.
I know. If someone was on short-term disability but was supposed to return to work the same week, she was put on furlough or was on temporary layoff. How does she answer the question? Are you applying for disability?
Can you repeat that question once more? If she's put on furlough?
Yes. She was put on furlough or temporary layoff. How does she answer the question, are you applying for disability?
So, okay. So, unless she is applying for disability, the answer is no, she's not. So, and the reason being is if you receive Social Security disability, it impacts your unemployment benefits. So, if people are staying at home, not working, but they're not disabled, they won't be filing for Social Security disability benefits.
So, Sarah, I'm going to take over with another kind of statement. And this comment echoes, Jeff, what you and I have been talking about, and Sarah has been talking about for the last week or so. This gentleman, Matt, says that he spoke with someone from IDES last week. They said that they are working around the clock, and the best advice they can give people who are having trouble getting through is to keep trying, and they will eventually get to you. And I should clarify what we have discussed with this, that if you get on before the 5 o'clock closing time, they're going to stay on until they get to your call. So call before the closing time, and they will get to you when they get to you. Correct, Jeff?
Right. So once you're in the call loop and you're sitting and waiting, that my understanding is they will get to you, although that's not guaranteed. So it may be after 5 when the office closes, but they're still answering phones for everyone that's currently in the queue before 5 p.m. That's what they're trying to do. And I know they're overwhelmed, and they are going to be overwhelmed with all the questions because everyone's answering the certification wrong. I know that some other states, we talked about this, have doubled the number of people to answer phones. IDS has decided not to do that, so there's not many more phone lines available than there had been for the last 10, 15 years.
So, Jeff, this comment actually came with a question at the end, which I think it's very apropos. Is there any other advice you can give to viewers
on what to do when they can't get through with the phone call?
In general, so we've kind of gone over if they can't get through, keep trying. But what is another piece of good advice that we've noticed kind of has been echoing and might be relevant to people listening?
So, number one, relax. The unemployment benefits are retroactive. If you need the money, yes, keep trying to call. But as I said right the first time, send a letter to IDES, it's Illinois Department of Employment Security, it's 33 South State Street, 8th floor, Chicago, Illinois, 60603. Explain what your issue is, try to make it short with your phone number and contact information, because people are processing that. They don't, as part of the normal mail. And so it at least creates a documentation of your problem. And once again, there's a 30-day appeal rights. So if you get a decision that a determination that isn't correct, whether it's not getting paid or you can't get through, you may want to appeal the determination within 30 days so that you protect your rights. Because after 30 days, if they decide not to pay you and you don't do anything about it, your rights are stopped after 30 days and you can't fight it. Oh, there's another issue that's come up a bunch of times, and this comes up all the time in my 30-year career, is people have filed for unemployment in the past. They received some money. It turns out they weren't entitled to it. They don't do anything about it. They don't follow up. And then the state decides they have to return all that money. What the state does is they typically wait till you file for unemployment again, and then they take that money back, and then you have to work before you can collect unemployment again. So there are people that all of a sudden they've been told they're going to get unemployment benefits, and then they receive a notification that they're getting nothing. Their check is zero. There's nothing you can do about that if it was because you received benefits they objected to it and you did not appeal within the 30 days. So you would have had an opportunity to appeal years ago in the 30 days, and now they're recouping their money from your unemployment benefits.
All right. We got a couple more people who are in the queue to come up. We're going to start with Diana. We're going to try you again. So give us about 5 seconds here. We're going to punch you up. Hopefully your microphone works. I see, Paulie, you are looking like you're wanting to come on, but your microphone is not connected. So I'll ask your question right after we get to Diana. Diana, thank you for joining us with Jeff Jacobson.
Diana, you have to unmute your microphone from your side. If you can do that for me.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you. You're good to go.
Great.
Okay. So my husband gets a 1099 and he applied for unemployment. And obviously his letter said 0. Should he wait until May 11th to reapply, or should he upload his 1099 now into the system?
So the unemployment benefits now is just for W-2 owners as a 1099. He needs to apply May 11th when the system is up and running. The rules are still being enacted, so it isn't part of the current unemployment law for 1099s, but he needs to apply on May 11th at that point, and they'll get all the information from him at that point for his money. He should also consider a payroll protection program loan with a local bank. Jimmy Johns and Ruth Chris just gave back their $30 million, and I think it's something like $500 billion was added to it this week. So there's more money for that.
I think your mic might either be off or your signal might be low. Try it again, Diana.
Okay, so I was
We hear
just
you.
curious then. It's saying he should certify tomorrow again. Should he continue on with that to have record or not worry about it?
Well, he can't certify because he's not a W-2, so I wouldn't worry about it.
Okay.
He's gonna, I don't know how that's gonna work. So if he becomes a W-2 employee in the future, I don't know how that's going to work. The system wasn't designed for this, the law, unfortunately. So there's a lot of things that are happening. So once you apply, the intent of unemployment is to help people in a crisis. So once you apply, you're supposed to get checks right away. So theoretically, had he had some wage history, he would have received a check right away. And then someone in the local office would have determined he's not eligible for benefits, and that's where they'd ask for all that money back. They'd make a determination he's entitled to it. If he doesn't object or pay it back, next time he files for unemployment, they'll take that money, they'll recoup it at that point, and that's what I was talking about earlier. All of a sudden, years from now, 5 years from now, he may get a job, be unemployed, he applies, and all of a sudden he forgets about what happens, and they start recouping his money. And there's all sorts of other rules that go into effect. He's not entitled to benefits until he works a good 12 months after that claim. So he shouldn't bother certifying.
Okay. All right, that helps. I do have a question for myself that I'm curious about. I applied April the 12th. My last day of work was April 11th. I did receive a benefits letter, but I haven't gotten a check yet. Is that normal?
So there's April 12th. So you should have received when your certification dates are a letter. It's about 2 weeks, and I apologize, I've gone blank on what today's date is. Hold on.
The
So
27th.
It's like the Groundhog Day now, over and over again. I feel you.
Right, it seems like a Saturday or Sunday to me. So you should have in the mail today the date to certify. If not, I would call a couple times during the day to see if they can tell you when your date to certify. My guess is a letter's coming on when you need to certify. That's part of the problem, but about 14 days is the latest I'm hearing. You're getting your certification. Oh, and yesterday was a Sunday, so you probably should get it today.
Okay. So that would put it at about 14 days today.
Right. So you'll have a date to certify, and then you'll call in. But if you don't get it so by Tuesday in the mail, I would definitely call and see if you can find out when your certification date is.
Okay. And then do they back pay to the first day you were off of work then?
So they'll back pay to the date you were severed from employment, and then also as of March 29th, you'll receive an additional $600 a week from the federal program.
Okay. Thank you.
Sure.
Thank you very much for your questions. And Polly, we weren't able to get your video and audio connected, but we have your question right here. I work I-9 job, laid off since March 16th. I applied for unemployment and got my UI finding, and it says 0 all around. Do I need to call and talk to someone? Am I able to get the insurance?
So, if it says 0, they're not able to. So there's, as we said, one of the reasons is that person may be a 1099 and they're not entitled to it. The other reason is they may have worked out of state, and so Illinois doesn't have their wage records. I'm not sure exactly what the reason is for this particular person, but they should be calling in to find out why their weekly benefit amount is 0. If they can't get through, once again, before 30 days expires, they need to fax in or mail in an appeal to that determination, assuming they've had a job for the 12-month period. And this is probably a good springboard to talk about the period of time the state uses for calculating your wages. It's a 1-year period. It goes back till 5 quarters ago, 4 quarters ago, 3 quarters ago, and 2 quarters ago. If, let's say, in the 5th quarter you didn't make any money, and the most recent quarter you did make money, you could ask them to calculate based on an alternate base period, which would be the last 4 quarters. But it may be that person didn't work enough, didn't work those 4 quarters, and so they have no weekly benefit amount. They just started working recently and were laid off. So that may be the problem too. But there's a lot of possibilities. I'd have them either contact the Department of Employment Security, or if they want to call me and talk about their issue, I'd be happy to help them through it. And I'm going to toss out my phone number. It's 331-222-9529. Just don't call at 1 p.m. till 2 p.m. this week.
That's because we're going to be trying to hold these town halls between 1 and 2 p.m. on a weekly basis. As long as there are viewers out there that have questions, it's just better because we're getting some of the same amount of questions as we have. One of the questions is, as we've always seen it in the past, I work part-time in one state, but then I also work in another state, but then my primary residence in the third state. Where do I go? How do I file for unemployment? And I think Jeff just dropped off. His advice in the past has always been to go ahead and file in the state that you are the resident for. And that would be the easiest way to go. Or if you'd like to shop around and see which one offers you the maximum amount of benefits between the different states, that's where you should go ahead and do the filing.
Sarah, you say I never get you anything. I got you something today. Jeff Jacobson, our resident expert.
Yeah, I was actually fielding a call all on my own. This was about filing in 3 separate states, with one of the states being resident. And then I just did the recap, Jeff, that we always do. File in your resident state if you can, or shop around with the 3 other states to see which one has the best benefit options, and then go with that one.
Right, and I think typically Illinois has the best benefit program, the least amount of requirements. So If you're living in Illinois, you should file in Illinois. It's also the most convenient if you have to do an appeal. So that would be my general. So yeah, sorry, I don't know why I dropped out of the conversation unless the cell phone coverage is horrible where I am.
Yeah, no worries. It's one of the things where we're all working through the technology and the different platforms. One of my previous broadcasts didn't have any audio kind of coming in, and my husband was livid. So that was my gift that I keep giving to him, just keeping him on his toes and engaged in our marriage and keeping the spice going.
By livid, she means very grateful that she'd even put her time and talent into making this not work on that particular episode.
Nice recovery, sweetheart.
But I will tell you this. If you're watching this now, hopefully we're going to get through all your questions, but Jeff has been nice enough to volunteer that he will be doing this every day this week at 1:00. So if we can't get to it today, we'll get to it at some point. Again, Jeff, why are you doing this? You're an attorney, you know. Yeah.
Because I want to help people. It is a lot of work. And I realize that these people have no money for this issue. And I think getting on live and, you two with your technology and skills to get the word out, I think even if people can't personally get their question answered, they still can hear answers that impact them. And also feel free to spread this to everyone because there's people throughout the state that are having problems.
Sure,
I've talked to people, they don't have a computer. They were used to go into a library to do things, and now the libraries are closed and they're somewhat destitute. Those people need to just try to keep calling and try to do it versus a phone. Or now the state's saying, I was right, fill out an application and mail it in. So, that's one of the other possibilities.
Yeah, and those applications are available at Jeff's website, as well as, that would be probably the best way that you can get a hold of anybody if you have difficulty calling in. I have a question from a viewer. This one I think we have answered in the past. So again, just to let everyone know, feel free to go ahead and peruse our website, our YouTube channel, and review any of the previous discussions because those have not changed. The questions have not changed. And if there are any changes to them, I will make sure that we go ahead and update the content that way. So any questions around reduction in hours, any questions around where do you go to do something or another. But Tina asked this question, and I feel that it would be valuable to everybody else that's listening today. Her hours have drastically reduced from 40 to about 28. She's an essential worker. Is she still eligible? And because this has been going on for a month, what does she do?
So once her hours were reduced, she can apply for unemployment benefits. It's when there's a substantial change in the job. So if her hours were reduced, March 29th, she should file now. It's retroactive to March 29th. She'll put the March 29th as a date that her job, was changed, and she's entitled to benefits. And so the amount that she makes is part-time. She just has to report that to unemployment. That income needs to get reported.
Just to follow up from that, Jeff, there are people that hold 2 jobs, 3 jobs, right? One of the questions is just she got laid off from one position, but she still works 35 hours on the other position. Does she qualify for unemployment? Is unemployment based on hours or money? What is unemployment based on?
So unemployment's based on both hours and money. So it's if you're making the same that you were at the job, you're not entitled to unemployment benefits, or if you're working 40 hours a week. So if you had a job that was paying you $500 a week full time, and now you're only making $200 a week, Working part-time, you're entitled to benefits. If you take a job full-time now that pays $9 an hour, now that you're working 40 hours, you won't be entitled to unemployment benefits. So if you're working a full-time job to replace your previous one, you're not entitled to it, even if the income's substantially less. But, as I've been saying, there's no penalty, there's no fees to apply for unemployment benefits. So if your hours have been reduced, I would file for unemployment benefits. The one exception is if your part-time benefits are going to be more than your weekly benefit amount, you won't be receiving anything, but there's still no penalty to apply.
Yeah. Ruiz asks, he had 2 jobs. Both of them were laid off due to COVID-19. I'm so sorry to hear that, Ruiz. One of the jobs was approved as far as unemployment goes. The other one was declined. He's just saying, will I still receive the cash for the one that I was approved for? Or one denial means that everything is denied?
No, it's if they've. So we'll assume for a minute that the one that's he's been approved for, he's entitled to a benefit amount. He'll receive his benefit amount, and no matter what the amount is, if it's $1 or more, then he'll receive $600 a week from the federal government. So if he's entitled to anything, and so I've noticed now there were some bus drivers down in Southern Illinois. They've been laid off. Their weekly benefit amount would have been $400, but because the federal government kicks in, they would be entitled to $1,000 a week, and instead the employer's paying them $400. So now they don't get the $1,000 a week; they get the $400, which is about half of. So you get 47% of what you make. So they were getting a little less than half at $400, but now because the employer's paying them the $400, they don't get the $1,000. They get nothing from unemployment benefits. So,
Jeff, I don't know if you can see these comments, but I did want to tell you here that we have someone thanking you for doing this and for stepping up and making sure that the information is out there. And we're seeing this, so I want to pass it along to you that your efforts are being appreciated here.
Well, and thanks, everyone.
Yep, I'm right there with you, Leah. These are trying times. All of us are being impacted in one way or another. So I really appreciate you guys reaching out and asking your questions. Dominique asks a question. I keep receiving 2 papers, one that says I'm approved and another one saying that I'm denied. Because of this, I have stopped receiving my benefits. I tried calling and emailing for about a month now. What should she do?
So hopefully it's not too late, and I'm guessing that the approval, the local office determination approved, and then they denied her after that. She needs to, and hopefully everyone understands this, within 30 days of getting something in writing that they don't agree with, she needs to file an appeal. The appeal forms are on the IDES website.
Go ahead.
She just needs to fax it in. They don't need some magic language. She could just say she doesn't agree with the local office determination. But yeah, we're starting to see that. And if I can do a quick plug for myself, though, if any of you are listening out there and you like what you hear and you find me helpful, if you can go to Google, search my name, and then give me a rating and comments, that I would appreciate. So she needs to, I hope it didn't go more than 30 days. She needs to file her appeal, mail it today. And I would have to know more facts to specifically answer her question. She's welcome to call me at 331-222-9529.
Okay, and we're approaching an hour here, so shortly we'll be letting Jeff go. But just to remind everyone who's listening, we're going to be doing this 1 o'clock every day that we can to keep the information flowing. We got one other question. Sarah, do you want to take it or shall I?
Yeah, let me take this one because this is more procedural, Raza. And again, it's from Leah, who was saying that these were some trying times and thanking us. Can you tell me what is the correct answer for? You must select the number of days you were unable to work and or unavailable for work during your normal work week for the period Sunday through Saturday. And the options are 0 to 5. Because she's able to work. Her salon is pretty much closed. That's the reason why she can't work anymore.
So once again, it's not, let me tell you basically how it used to work. So before COVID-19, you can go find a job, your employer lays you off, and you're supposed to go find a job. So some people, for whatever reason, they're sick, they don't want to find a job, but in the past, not every day they were able to go to work. The difference is now you're stuck in the house because the governor ordered you to stay home. And so the able and available, she is still able and available to work 5 days. So there's 0 days that she's not able to work. She can work from home. There's work that possibly she could do from home. And that's the definition now during the COVID-19 incident. The question is, can she work from home? So if she's, for example, in a coma, 5 days, though, then she can't work. But if she's able to work from home, she needs to put down there's no days that prevent her from working, because otherwise she's not going to get benefits. She's going to get denied. And that's not the intent of unemployment now.
Yep. Does getting benefits mean that they're approved if they haven't even received an approval letter?
Oh, yes. Well, so
it's catch-22.
Right.
You get the money.
So how it used to be is the local office would send money out right away to help. And then the employer has 28 days to protest. Let's say you quit your job, they still had work, it was still available. In the pre-COVID-19 situation, not what's been happening recently. So then the employer sends in their protest saying, we've got work from this person and they just left. They didn't want to work ever again. Let's assume that's true. So then the local office would change it from being approved to denied, and then you have to return that money. So that's how it used to be with getting the money and then getting denied. They should get at some point, and that should be about 14 days after they filed, but it may not necessarily be. They should get a letter from the local office saying that they've made a determination that they're eligible for benefits, either under 601 or 602. But they should have some documentation, probably with, 36 million people are unemployed. If the post office doesn't deliver every letter, there's a possibility you may not have gotten your local office letter. I don't want to tell you to call in because you're not going to be able to get this through to anyone. But as long as you're certifying you're getting paid, I would say for, 2 checks, you're probably good to go. They probably haven't denied you.
All right, we're approaching an hour here. Like I said, Jeff Jacobson's going to be doing this with us 1 o'clock every day as long as we can. So just want to talk a little about this collaboration before I let you go, Jeff, just so people understand what it is we're doing. We each here have our own kind of expertise. I'm a video production guy. Sarah's clearly an IT person who gets everything going and streaming to you guys. And Jeff is the expert on everything else, everything related to the content of what we're doing. So, it's interesting how we came together. We came together to help some of my members, some of our friends, and just get the message out there.
I'm a trustee here in the village of Lisle, and there were some questions that we kept getting, and they just seemed to be of a repetitive pattern. And my husband and I have in the past known that Jeff Jacobson was amazing at what he does, right? So we decided all to pull together and form this, not just for our members, for our constituents, but for every other person all across the United States. Some of the questions that you got
we've been
today,
getting
Jeff,
stuff from Texas, from
Exactly.
Wisconsin, and earlier
have been
shows.
from
So
everywhere. So everybody is in the same boat. My favorite postal worker is out there delivering the mail today. So I'm very optimistic that, we're going to be getting out of this soon. But in the meantime, we'll be coming to you live at 1 p.m. through the site.
Jeff, any final words for today's audience before we rest up, research, and do it again tomorrow?
No, I just, probably just, stay safe, relax. I'm being told you will eventually get through with the phone calls to IDS, but it does take a long time, and we'll try to answer the mass questions as much as we can. Feel free to go to my website at jeffjacobsonlaw.com. If you can ask questions there, as well as you can call me at 331-222-9529. I'm trying to answer as many calls as I can. I'm just an individual, so we're working as fast as we can to help everyone. And it's my understanding a lot of people are making bread lately.
So
I
make
a bread.
I'm not a baker.
Yeah. I don't hold it against her. Well, thank you again, Jeff. And if you're watching this, thank you for the questions. Thank you for keeping this moving. And if you have anyone that would benefit from this, please feel free to let them know about it. We're going to be trying to do this 1 o'clock every day. So hope to join you again tomorrow.
Yep. Just find us on YouTube, find us on Facebook. Find us any which way you can. There are previous shows that we have broadcasted that are available for your viewing.
We got to give a shout out to Sean Allen too, who's regularly on this as well. Sean was unable at this time frame to be here with us, but he's instrumental also in getting this message out with us. It's completely a collaboration, and we're happy to put it together for you guys.
Thank you.
And please share this too with your friends, because they may know someone that's destitute, doesn't know where to go for unemployment. So if everyone here can share it, eventually we'll get the word out to everyone and be able to help them all.
Hey, looks like there's one new caller, Jeff. They're not going to let you go today, are they?
Do you want to take it,
Just
Jeff?
one last question.
Yes.
Let's
Sure.
DA popping you up. DA, are you with us?
Yeah, hi, can you hear me?
Yes, we sure can.
Awesome, fantastic. So I'm a sole proprietor and have applied for unemployment benefits and got declined or eligible for 0. So it really doesn't give me next steps for being a sole proprietor. Any guidance?
So that's a simple one. So sole proprietors can't file till May 11th. You have no history of wages, which is why it showed 0. So there's nothing for you to do currently with the unemployment. Just wait till May 11th. I know you were supposed to, under federal law, to be able to apply for unemployment benefits, but the state of Illinois does not have that in play yet. They're estimating in May 11th.
Excellent. So just sit tight and be patient, huh?
Well, what I would suggest is contact your bank and file for a payroll protection program. 1099s are entitled to that, so proprietors, and you just submit them the documentation of what you received in income for the 12-month period, and you should be entitled to, if they have money, 2.5 times that amount.
Fingers crossed. Thank you.
Fantastic. Thank you for your call. And thank you again, Jeff, and everyone for dialing in and listening. We'll see you guys again tomorrow, same time, 1 o'clock.
All right, everyone. Bye.
Bye-bye.